Hey guys, welcome to class. Today is going to be a short flow to open up our back body and bring a little bit of core into our class. So when you're ready, go ahead and we'll just start standing at the top of the mat. So taking a moment here, make sure your feet are about hips width distance. Really grounding the heel and the big toe into the mat. And then pulling that energy up your legs, so spiraling your inner thighs inwards. Engaging your glutes just a touch, tucking your tailbone, pulling in your lower abs, knitting in your ribs. And then rolling your shoulders up to the sky and back down your back body, releasing them right over top of your hips. Closing down your eyes. Bring your palms to face forward. Taking a few deep breaths here before we get started. Really engaging through your legs, feeling your weight kind of being pulled up out of the ground as you engage all the way up to the top of your head. And we'll try and keep this amount of engagement in our legs as we enter into back bends. So whether we're on our knees or standing, just try and pull your tailbone down, engage your glutes, and bring your core into the action. Exhaling to prepare, we'll take a few deep breaths together. Inhaling and exhaling, open mouth. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. Last one, inhaling, pausing at the top, inhaling a little bit more, and exhaling completely. Keeping your eyes closed, inhaling your arms up and overhead, palms to touch, and exhaling, pulling them down to heart center. Setting your intention for today's class. And when you're ready, inhaling arms back, up and overhead, and exhaling, deep bend in the knees as we fold forward. Releasing our upper body completely over our legs. You can grab opposite elbows with your hands. You can roll out your neck, completely release your head and neck to the mat. Deep bend in the knees so that your torso is glued to your thighs. Inhaling, bring your hands to shins and find a long spine, straightening halfway lift. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling, arms up and overhead, palms to touch, and then find Kali Mudra with your hands so your fingers interlace, except for your pointer fingers will face upwards. And on your exhale, go ahead and lean your upper body towards the right side of the room, planting firmly into your left foot. And then inhaling up and overhead. Exhaling towards the left side, planting into your right foot. Inhaling up and overhead. And then exhaling, forward fold. Inhale, hands to shins, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, just like the last round, all the way up to the top. And exhaling, bending to the right side. Inhaling, center. Exhaling to the left. Inhaling, center. And forward fold. Inhaling, halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Last round, inhaling all the way up. Hands to Kali Mudra, exhaling to the right. Inhaling up. Exhaling to the left. Inhaling up and exhaling forward fold. Taking a moment in your forward fold again to completely release through your back body, hanging your head and neck. Resealing your intention here before we start to move. Inhaling, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands and step back into a plank pose. Inhaling here. And exhale, drop your knees. And then drop your chest right between your hands and your chin to the floor. On your inhale, pulling through baby cobra. So thighs on the mat, barely pushing into your hands, lifting your chest and chin. Exhaling onto your knees, tucking your toes into downward facing dog. Inhaling here. Exhale, look forward and take a big step forward into a forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise all the way up, hands overhead. And exhale, hands to heart center. Do a few more rounds. Inhaling, arms up and overhead, little back bend at the top. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands and step back into plank. Inhaling here. Exhale, drop your knees, your chest, and your chin. And inhale, pulling through baby cobra, just barely pushing into your hands. Exhale, rolling back, downward facing dog. Inhaling here. Exhaling, looking forward and stepping in between your hands to forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Tiny back bend at the top and exhale, hands to heart center. Last round, inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Try and close your eyes during this. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands and step back into plank. Inhaling here. Exhale, drop the knees, the chest, the chin. And inhale, pulling through baby cobra. Exhale, back over your toes into downward facing. Inhale in your downward dog. And exhale. Inhale, looking forward. Exhale, you can jump or step in between your hands. This time, deep bend in your knees. And then inhaling your arms up and overhead to chair pose. So deep bend in the knees. Bringing the weight into your heels, arms up and overhead. And then touching your palms together, we'll shoot them over our right thigh into a twisted chair. So bending into our knees. Pushing our hands against each other and twisting over our right side. Inhaling, rising back up to center. And exhaling, hands over the left thigh. Pushing hand into hand, twisting through the upper body. And then rising back up to center. And this time, try and slowly bring your butt towards the ground. So it can be graceful, it can not be graceful. But we're coming to a seat. So slowly landing. Go ahead and bring your legs out in front of you, hovering your heels and hovering your hands. Drop your left hand by your hip and rise your left leg and your right arm to touch. And then dropping both arm overhead, leg in front of you, and then coming back together. Dropping them both and coming together for just 3, 2, and 1. And then switching sides. So bringing your right hand to your right hip, dropping your left leg, rising your right leg and your left arm to touch, and then dropping them down, and rising, and drop, and rise for 3, for 2, and 1. Dropping your heels and your hands to the mat. Inhaling here. And on your exhale, rising up into low boat pose. So bending your knees. Long spine, arms out in front of you. Holding low boat, or high boat, excuse me. And then we'll drop into low boat. So arms or legs extended out in front of you. And then rising up to high boat. Lowering to low boat. Rising. Just for 3, 2, and 1. As you rise this time, cross your ankles and roll over them onto your hands and stepping back into plank pose. Rising into downward facing dog. Inhaling here and exhaling. Inhaling, looking forward, and on your exhale, stepping through. Rising into halfway lift, long spine. And exhale, folding. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And then stepping back into plank pose, we'll go ahead and find downward facing dog from here. Rising your right leg up behind you and take a moment to really gather everything in. So make sure that your hips are square. You're really rolling your left leg into external rotation. So sucking that inner thigh in, pushing through the right glute to push the right heel a little bit higher. And then exhaling, stepping your right foot between your hands. And we'll rise into a crescent lunge. So as you rise, deep bend in your back knee to level out your hips. And then arms up and overhead. Taking your right arm, we'll swing it in front of us. And then down by our hip and back behind us. Bringing our left arm level, so in an archer's lunge here. Taking a moment, looking back behind us to deepen our twist. And then bringing both hands towards the front of the room. Take your left hand behind you and grab your left hamstring. Right arm comes up and overhead, and then bend your elbow and grab the back of your head with your hand to cradle your head as you start to look to the space behind you. Bringing a little back bend here. Bringing both arms then back in front of you. Palms touch and slice them over your right thigh, coming back into that twisted prayer position. Inhaling here, pushing into the palms to open through the chest. Exhaling, hands find the mat. And rise your right leg into 3-legged dog. Exhale, drop the right foot. Deep breath. Inhale, looking forward, and exhale, stepping through to forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms up and overhead. And exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, arms out, overhead. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, drop your hands, stepping back into plank pose, and then rising your hips into downward facing. Bringing your left leg to the sky. Again, rolling through your right leg so that your right inner thigh is coming in, leveling through your hips, pushing evenly through both hands. Engage that left glute to push your left heel a little higher, and then step your left foot through your hands. Inhale, rising to crescent lunge. Again, as you rise, bending through the back knee to level the hips. Swinging your left arm forward, down, and back until you swing open into archer's lunge. Looking back behind you to try and bring the right side of your chest to face the left side of the room. Then bringing both hands forward in front of you. Swing your right arm back to grab your right hamstring as your left arm reaches up and overhead and cradles your head, leaning your head into your hand as you come into a back bend here. Inhaling and exhaling. Again, hands out in front of you, palms touch. Slice outside of your left leg and come into prayer pose. Pushing palm to palm, opening up through the chest. Exhaling, hands to the mat. Three-legged dog. And then downward facing. Inhaling, coming into plank pose. This time we'll lower into chaturanga, so slowly lowering until your elbows are at a 90-degree angle. Then flipping your feet so the tops of your feet are on the mat, pushing into the palms and rising into upward facing dog, engaging through the glutes, pulling the thighs off the mat. Exhale, rolling back, downward facing dog. Inhale, looking forward. On your exhale, stepping through, finding a forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Exhale, hands to heart center. Taking a deep inhale. Long exhale. We'll step that up just one notch. Follow along if you can, but have fun with it. Inhaling, arms out and overhead. Exhaling, deep bend in the knees. Swing your fingertips to touch the mat, and then rising deep bend into chair pose. Exhaling, slashing your arms over the right leg into twisted prayer over the right side. This time looking at the mat about a foot in front of you. Try and balance through your right leg, so completely pressing your right foot into the mat, and slowly try to lift your left foot off of the mat, bending it so that your heel comes into your butt, balancing here, and then maybe trying to straighten your left leg out behind you into a twisted warrior three. And then slowly we'll all meet in crescent lunge. So slowly as you can, touching your left toes to the mat and rising arms overhead. Exhaling, swinging your right arm behind you, archer's lunge. Looking behind you to deepen. Inhaling here. Exhaling, both hands to the front of the room. Swinging your left arm behind you, right arm cradles your head. Back bend here. Exhaling, both arms forward. Slice over your right leg. Find prayer position here. Twisting open as deep as you can. And this time your hands will find the mat right by your right foot. Bending deeply into your right leg. We'll bring our left knee right behind our right knee. Balancing on our right leg. And then I'll show you from the front view. We're gonna take our left leg out towards the right and land it about 2 feet away from our right leg. Keeping a deep bend in this right leg. Rising up, arms overhead. Grab a hold of your left wrist and pull it over towards the right. So a deep bend in our side body here. Exhaling, hands back to the mat. Straightening through the right leg. Ooh, that's a relief. And then go ahead and find half moon. So rising your left leg behind you. Planting your right hand about a foot in front of your right foot. And spinning your chest open towards the left. If you're comfortable here with your balance, you could try and bend your left knee and grab a hold of your left foot with your left hand behind you. Kicking into the hand to open even deeper into your back body. But that's just for fun. Don't stress. Exhaling, releasing everything to the mat. Foot, hand, everything deep, forward fold. And then slowly curling up vertebrae by vertebrae to standing. Really exaggerating the movement. Chin comes up last. And then sinking back into a deep chair pose. Hands find the mat. Folding over your legs into forward fold. And slowly again curling up. Vertebra by vertebra. Rising. Bending into the knees again into chair pose. Sinking back down. Last round of this funky chair. And then rolling back up. Head comes up last. Exhale, folding down. This time again, rising into chair pose. Arms up and overhead, slicing your legs or your arms over your left leg. Find prayer pose in your chair position. And then balancing on your left foot this time. So slowly trying to rise our right foot. Maybe extending behind us. Keeping your focus on one point can help with your balance. And eventually we'll all slowly meet into a crescent lunge. Exhaling, your left arm swings behind you, archer's lunge. Sitting here. And then both hands towards the front of the mat. Right hand reaches behind you, left hand cradles the head, bending into a back bend here. Both hands out in front of you again, slicing over the left leg. Prayer position again with your hands opening through the chest. Looking down to your left foot. Frame your foot with your hands maybe a little bit in front of your foot. Bending deeply into your left knee, pull your right knee right outside of, or right behind your left knee. Shooting your right foot out towards the left. I'll show you from the front view. Keeping a deep bend in that left leg. Rise your arms up and overhead. Grab your right wrist with your left hand and pull it over towards the left. Inhaling here. And exhaling, releasing hands back towards the mat. Rising into half moon. So pulling your right leg behind you. Left hand comes about a foot in front of your left foot. Rising up. Maybe bending through your right knee, trying to grab that right foot behind you and kicking into the hand to open through the back body. Exhaling, releasing everything back down. Finding a deep forward fold. Inhaling, halfway lift. And exhale, stepping back into plank and finding a chaturanga. Slowly lowering arms to 90 degrees. Flipping the feet, rolling over and finding upward facing dog. Exhale, we'll go ahead and plant our knees and come back to sit on our heels. Inhaling here and exhaling. Lucky for you, I had like 3 more ab workouts planned in, but we've run out of time. So we'll get through a few more back bends and then close off for the day. So inhale your arms up and overhead, and then go ahead and plant your right arm by your right hip and lift your left arm up and over towards the right. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling, rising your hands up and overhead. Exhale, left hand by your left hip, right arm overhead towards the left. Bending deeply. Inhaling and exhaling. And then hands come overhead and bring them to heart center. From here, we'll go ahead and interlace our fingers together. And then as we exhale, we'll shoot our hands forward and curve through the spine, tucking our chin to our chest. On our inhale, we'll bring our arms up and overhead. And as we do, we'll push into our shins and push the pockets of our pants forward, rising into a camel pose variation. Exhaling your hands into cactus, opening through the chest, engaging the glutes. And exhale, hands to heart center as we sink back to our heels. Inhale, arms up and overhead. And exhale, hands to heart center. Again, interlacing the hands, pushing them forward as we round into our spine. On our inhale, pushing our shins into the ground, rising arms overhead as we bend into our backs. Exhale, cactusing our arms out to the side. And then sinking our hips back towards our heels. Inhaling here. And exhale. This time, coming onto our shins. Actually, let's plant our hands and find plank pose for just a second. Once you're in plank, drop your knees like we're coming into knees, chest, chin. So go ahead and drop your chin in your chest. From here, we're gonna play around with something I just tried last night and it felt really good. But if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. So dropping your chest and your chin, tent your fingertips outside of your chest if you can. That's step one. Step two would be bringing your arms behind you, clasping your hands by your tailbone, and then pulling your arms straight behind you, opening through your collarbones. Breathing here, maybe lifting your chin off the mat. And exhaling your hands back down, coming all the way back to where we just were on our heels. Maybe tuck your toes this time. We'll rise on to our knees. And we'll just find camel pose from here. So toes tucked or untucked, whatever feels better to you. Reaching your right hand back to your right heel. Left hand back to your left heel. Pushing your hips forward. Engaging your glutes. Chest towards the sky. Breathing here for just 3 breaths. When you're ready, sinking all the way back towards your heels. A deep inhale, nice big exhale. Go ahead and find a seat. So bringing our heels out in front of us, butt to the mat. Grab a hold of the backs of your legs behind your knees. And we'll slowly pull onto our legs as we release our body, back body all the way to the mat. Head finds the mat last. And we'll bring our heels in towards our butt. We'll take 2 back bends here. You can either do 2 bridges, 1 bridge, 1 wheel, 2 wheels, whatever feels good to you. Today I'll do 1 of each. You can follow along with me or do your own thing. But go ahead and make sure you can touch your heels with your fingertips. And we'll rise into bridge pose, so pushing our heels into the mat, lifting our hips nice and high, pushing the pockets of our pants up towards the ceiling. And maybe tucking our shoulder blades a little bit deeper underneath our body and clasping our hands below us to push even deeper into a back bend here. So pushing your hands, your forearms into the mat. Remembering to engage through the glutes, pulling the heels towards your hands. Exhale, releasing back towards the mat, bringing your feet out wide. Go ahead and windshield wiper your legs back and forth to release through the lower back. And last back bend of the class, we'll bring our heels back by our tush, touching our heels with our fingertips. And if you're coming with me and doing wheel pose, we'll bring our hands right by our shoulders, fingertips facing the heels. And this time we'll push into our heels, rising our hips, then push into our hands and plop the top of our head on the mat. And then pushing through both the feet and the hands at the same time, rise all the way up into wheel pose. Really pushing through the legs, engaging through the glutes to bring your shoulders over your wrists. Wherever you are, 3 deep breaths here. It's our last active pose of the class. embracing the challenge, inviting this back bend into your life, finding a smile, and exhaling, releasing all the way down. Bringing your heels out wide and windshield wipering back and forth again to release through our low back. From here, we'll just walk our knees into our chest. Go ahead and grab your arms over your legs and just roll back and forth on your lower back. I'll go ahead and bring us through a child or a happy baby to close off today, but if anything else feels nice to you, go ahead and do that. If you're coming with me, we'll grab the outsides of our feet and lift the bottoms of our feet towards the ceiling as our knees come in towards our armpits. Trying to glue our low back onto the mat, maybe rocking side to side, maybe finding stillness. But taking a moment to bring some peace back into our headspace, to wind down from a pretty invigorating flow. Whenever you're ready, extending your legs out in front of you. Heels nice and wide, hands resting by your hips, palms up. Bringing your shoulder blades back under your back. Take a nice deep inhale fully from the tips of your toes to the top of your head. And exhale, letting your body sink completely into the floor. One more inhale. Expanding the length of your body. Exhale, sinking all the way into the mat. Staying here as long as you'd like. As always, it's a pleasure to be teaching for you guys. Thank you for joining me. Namaste.